Happy first day of May, everybody. I am Bree the Plant Lady, checking in with a weekly garden tour. And today it is not raining. We have beautiful, clear Carolina blue skies. And well, the garden is truly erupting into bloom. So without further ado, let me turn the camera around so you can see the beautiful cottage garden rainbow that has erupted thanks to the nearly 18 inches of rain that we received in this garden during the month of April. We'll start right here on the side, south-facing property border. That is always one of the big displays for the open garden. As I predicted, it's just starting to bloom and it's going to look fabulous for the spring open garden, which is less than 2 weeks away, Saturday, May 13th, noon to 4 p.m. Free, no registration, rain or shine. Come out and see the poppy and larkspur and just all of the cottage garden mixes. And of course, pick up some awesome plants during our native plant sale. Now, as you can see here, a lot of this bed was self-sown. What I filled in is a bit smaller because that was seed that got sown, I think, right before the holiday freeze. So you see those poppies that I sowed aren't quite blooming yet, but they will be, versus the self-sown poppies that have just started to flower. Of course, you look at the walkways and that is where all the cottage garden plants want to grow. So when in doubt, sow the seeds, gravel adjacent. Of course, we've got larkspur, we've got carrots, a great diversity in color of the Papaver somniferum. This, of course, remains kind of my crown jewel favorite color. But in and amongst that, we've also got wheat, which I absolutely adore how the wheat looks. Bachelor buttons coming, and you can see a lot of larkspur. That larkspur is all self-sown. The larkspur that isn't blooming yet is what I sowed. So there is definitely at least a few weeks difference between the plants that seeded themselves versus the plants that I seeded. I just think this combination of larkspur and wheat together is just a snapshot that I love and adore, and it's definitely a motivating factor for all the effort that it takes to grow these out from seed, waiting 5 months for this display to happen. Now you can see the Nigella, which is taller than ever. I usually say like, oh, Nigella is short, put it at the front of the border. Here it is like 3 foot tall. I'm positive that's because of the amount of rain that we've had this season. I'm not sure if it will go down in history as the wettest April, but it's, for me, definitely 18 inches in 1 month is a lot of rain. And it's definitely a contributing factor to these plants just having a lot of bulk to them. You can see here in the shade, everything's a little bit slower as well. I love the poppies at this stage though, when they have this little cap on them. And I'm gonna go ahead and interrupt the cycle by popping that cap off, whoops, to reveal, again, my favorite color, that raspberry coloration. I really adore. You can see there's a lot of poppies at that stage with the cap. I guess you shouldn't really peel that off because when I just did that, it actually took one of the petals off. So leave them alone, just enjoy them. Hands off. This is the time of year where you get to just come out and enjoy the efforts that you put forth in the winter. All right, walking over here to the north side of the backyard, the poppies are really, they're just exploding into bloom, and there's so much color diversity. I was so excited when I came out yesterday and saw this, and then of course it immediately started to pour again. But you can see all the different colors from that raspberry to purple to lavender. There's some really beautiful pinks, and the bees are out in full force. They love the poppy flowers. if you keep bees, growing Papaver somniferum is a really good idea. They are happiest when pollinating these flowers. And people often ask, what does open pollinated mean? This is exactly what open pollinated means. The bees are moving pollen from flower to flower, making it so that none of these plants, you'll never know what their seed will turn out to be because they're being pollinated by all of these different color genetics. So, you know, some seed suppliers will sell you a variety that's like only purple. Lauren's grape is a really popular one. Mine are all open pollinated, so you're not going to just get one color, you're going to get a mix of colors because I'm not segregating these and preventing the bees from moving the pollen from plant to plant. I happen to really prefer the open pollination because I like the range of colors that you get instead of just one color. But saying that, I've got plenty that fall into that color that is Lauren's grape. That's this dark purple. And it's beautiful, but I think it's especially beautiful when it's mixed with soft pink and raspberry and red. I have a lot on my to-do list this week. I definitely need the garden to dry out a bit before I do any planting. You can see my greenhouse is bursting at the seams. I have my first garden tour with the Moore County Master Gardeners tomorrow. I'm so excited to kick off garden tour season. If you aren't able to come to the open garden and you have a group of people that you would like to come out and see, email me, bree@breegrows.com, and perhaps we can get a date worked out for you to come out and visit. There are plenty of plants to purchase. I don't want anybody to feel like if they can't come to the open garden, I don't want you to think that you can't visit at all, but we would have to schedule a private garden tour. You can see coming in to the fire pit. First of all, this kale is off the chains. I can't believe how big it is. Actually, let me turn the camera around so you can compare it to me. Yes, that kale is planted in the ground and it is significantly taller than I am. And I actually have some poppies that are taller than me as well. So there you have it. You know, kale, when you allow it to flower, this is going to seed right now. The yellow finches love to eat the seed, by the way. So even if you're not gathering it for the purpose of regrowing, it's actually great to be able to feed those birds that are visiting your garden. And into the fire pit. I was so excited. I don't have as many of these like super double frilly poppies this season, but again, they are part of the open pollinated mix, and this is a really extraordinary plant. This is Papaver somniferum. It's just one that has a genetic break to have a lot of these frilly petals, or perhaps they're petaloids. But of course, right next to that is a nice deep dark purple. Again, for me, it's the diversity and the color range. I like seeing the rainbow and not the Skittles rainbow. The grains in pots are all looking great. I really like this mix with the oats right here and this wheat, which has really beautiful long awns. It's just spectacular. That's definitely a combo that I think I will package for the fall open garden. I'm not going to announce the date yet because I want the spring open garden to still be the focus. As we look around here in the fire pit, you know, I've got these containers that are still mostly planted for the cool season, and the ones that I replanted for like a second season of spring are doing really well. I need to come out and treat the broccolis with BT because obviously you can see caterpillars are munching, but those broccolis are doing really well. Of course, this planter that I did for the summer season is growing out great. You know, this tomato is doing nicely. I'm a little worried that it's still a little too cold for tomatoes because we're only in the 40s and 60s this entire week, and tomatoes are very sensitive to cold soil. So I would still wait at least another week or two before planting tomatoes in the ground. Now you can see the wheat in this pot is just spectacular. And it does seem that the wheat has better structural integrity. You see that one didn't fall apart in the rainstorm. Whereas this barley, I've had to tie it up because it fell apart completely. Now it did fall apart from an 8.5-inch rain system. So that may be the difference, and I might be incorrect in judging the genetics. But overall, I think this area is looking quite magical. I have not dealt with weeding the pathway, and I'm kind of at the stage where it's like, well, maybe I'll just let it be as it is for the open garden. You can view it from this point and not actually walk through it, because I think I'm going to do more damage than good trying to weed the pathway. On the list, probably not for today, although it would be great if we could, we're going to mow the crimson clover down. We're going to leave the barley, we're going to mow the crimson clover down and come up with a new planting for this bed. I'd like to get this done today, but it might be too wet, to be honest. I love how the barley's looking, the crimson clover. I don't want this to go to seed in this spot. So that's the strategy. Cut it before the seed is ripe and you won't have it self-sow. And you can see, we'll start over here at this border, which is, I mean, it's amazing what more rain does. And let's see. Okay, I dumped this out yesterday and we were at 2 inches. So not quite 2.5 inches from yesterday's rainstorm. But I've never had, I don't think I've ever had poppies. Look, this big, this just immense and tall. And of course the ones that are planted in the feed tank are extra tall and impressive. And you can see larkspur and the eschscholtzia, everything just growing out beautifully. Soon the lettuce will be going to seed, and that'll add a really nice yellow flower. Of course, the Silene coronaria is starting to bloom. And up here, this border I think is more beautiful than ever. The California poppies are just doing their thing. Now you can see this one is going to die, and it's definitely because of too much wetness. You know, you can see how the foliage is really suffering, and it's a California poppy, y'all. It's not really supposed to get 18 inches of rain in 1 month. But look how delicious the strawberries are. I have a lot of strawberries to harvest today. I want to get them before the roly-polies get them all. So, got some strawberry harvesting to do. And of course, this edge of onions helping prevent the animals from eating this border, mixed in with the California poppies, and soon the Papaver somniferum will be blooming. Remember, this border was sown on January 3rd. So just to give you an idea of how long it took from seed to flowering. I wanted to show you this border. The Lunaria is just about finished flowering. You can see it's now in its seed stage, which is where it gets the nickname money plant. Of course, these seed pods will turn translucent. The Nigella is about to open. There's some that have already started to flower. This is the more typical size of Nigella, not that enormous size that you saw in the backyard. And then, of course, the larkspur is also just starting to fill in. And just a side note, I have got the tag situation sorted. Everything will be labeled. I have trays for everybody to take where you can cut those. I also have other sizes of trays that we're going to be using. We're going to sort through my plastic stash. So the plant sale is totally figured out. It's going to be awesome. You won't have any trouble transporting plants because they fit in those cells perfectly. Thanks to Hoffman Nursery, New Moon, and North Creek. They were all like, yeah, we can just provide you with labels. We have them. So, duh, should have just realized that when I was ordering the plants. Just, I guess I was thinking about me planting them and I don't need the labels, but yeah, you need the labels so when you buy the plants and take them home, you'll know what they are. Now I'm going to do a container garden tour, hopefully this afternoon. So I'm not going to focus a lot on the pots, but you can see this pot with the Reese poppies it's been blooming for several weeks, lots of flowers to come. And that's just a pot from Lowe's. And behind here, this is a pot from Aldi, by the way. These poppies, the Pepever somniferum, which were re-sown after the holiday freeze in early January, these are getting ready to flower as well. And I wanted to show you the Deutzia. This is Deutzia scabra variegata. Most of it has reverted to green. I don't care. It's just a fabulous, super low maintenance shrub. And at the base of that, all that buckwheat that I sowed on St. Patrick's Day filled in and in bloom right now, the perfect kind of living mulch. And all that will get mown down and this border will get filled with native perennials. But probably won't do that until after the open garden. And I wanted to show you the Mary Milton, which I was, had a debate a few weeks ago about what causes the flowers to be pink. My suspicion is that the Arboretum is a little warmer than I am and their plant was farther ahead. And so their plant probably started pink and then it fades to white. And that's precisely what mine is doing. But remember, viburnums are not pH sensitive. That is a hydrangea issue. It's actually an aluminum uptake problem. But that is not the situation with viburnums. They aren't going to change different colors based off of your pH. That's just not how it works. So my suspicion is that their Mary Milton viburnum plicatum was probably 10 or 12 days ahead of mine. And when I saw it, when I made that tour, it was more at this stage. And that explains the color difference. These do typically fade out to a more white as they mature. Now, I know I showed you the front garden yesterday, but it was rainy and gray, and I think you need to see it when it has Carolina blue sky behind it. And it's so magical. Oh, you guys, it's so exciting to see. And I know I've mentioned this over and over, but this entire bed, this one right here, is all self-sown. So really extraordinary. Oh, you guys, my neighbor Nick is coming to deliver me a redbud. Hot diggity. Hi, I have the best neighbors.
Sorry, and I'm not too.
Are you eating from the garden? All right, so what's your favorite thing that you've eaten so far?
Edible flowers.
All right, so you are a fan of violas, which look, there's some right there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a pea, but that one is probably too mature to eat. See, it's really hard. And it's because the seed is maturing. I don't think there's any peas that are really ready to be eaten. But this is lettuce. You ate some lettuce. You see the violas are right there, the purple and yellow.
Mm.
He's like, oh yeah. He ate some broccoli. You ate broccoli from the tower garden. The broccoli is awesome from the tower this year. Soon we'll be replacing it with tomatoes. What do you think of the poppies here? Are they pretty and colorful? I know, those are my, well, all the poppies are my favorite. I can't pick a favorite. I was thinking about changing it out to succulents, but it still looks so good.
It really does.
And you like eating from it.
With all the rain that we've had.
18 inches logged here for the month of April. Yeah.
Well, that actually helps for the drought that we've had in the last 2 years.
Hey, kitty.
It's true. You like that, kitty? That's a pot holder. So do the flowers taste different if they're different colors, or do they all taste the same?
They all taste the same.
There you have it. The expert taste tester. This is the most awesome thing ever. I love that as soon as he gets out, he's like, where are the edible flowers?
And then he reminds you of what you said. You said you'd show me all the edibles.
All
Yeah,
of the
but
edibles
here.
in the garden.
Charlie, come on, let's go.
Look at how cute you are. And you know what? Your jacket matches the sky. Craycox, the Chinese fringe tree, is in full flower. And if you look, those puffy white flowers really look like a cloud. It's such a spectacular tree. And of course, this gets quite large. You can see the multi-stem, multi-trunk habit that it has. And the petals are starting to fall, and it kind of looks like snow, doesn't it, Charlie? But the best kind of snow, because it's not cold out.
That'd be cool if they could turn into a pie and we could jump in.
Right? You could make a pile of petals to jump in. That sounds like a life goal. All right, to show you this section, you can see the wheat. This is awnless wheat. I love how it looks. It's so interesting how different the grains can look, whether they have awns or not. And then over here along the front, you can see the Reese poppies are getting ready to start to open. And in this bed, you see some California poppies and some bachelor buttons. And remember those nasturtiums that I sowed, they are looking great, filling in. Hopefully they'll flower before it gets too hot. Lucky for us, we've got a really mild week ahead, just 60s and 40s. And you can see the Reese poppies over here are really magnificent. And I love that the self-sown larkspur is just providing like a great color and texture contrast. Now, I have got to come in and do the Chelsea chop on this phlox because look at how big it is. Again, it's never been this size this early, and I need to be pretty extreme with it. I'll make a video to show you the process. There's really no easy way to do it. I'm gonna do it with hedge clippers, and it'll be a lot to haul away. And I wanted to show you, I need to harvest from the cabbage patch. That's my next task. So I don't want to let these cabbages go to waste. You can see when they start to bolt and flower, there's nothing for you to harvest. So I have this section that has already bolted, so I'll leave those. I'm gonna harvest the ones that actually have good heads on them. Now over in here, you can see it's starting to get really shady in this section of the garden now that the trees are all leafed out. So this Thai silk isn't blooming as much as it was a few weeks ago, but all of these larkspur are doing really well. And you can see the poppies are rocking and rolling. Again, this path is basically impassable, and some of these poppies have fallen. So I don't know. I'm gonna come in and see. I might be able to stake these poppies and pull some of the undesirable plants out of this pathway so that you actually can access this area. You know, I think this is sort of the ultimate cottage border in that it does look a little bit messy, but it is very intentional. If I could get in here and weed out some of the undesirable plants, specifically the vetch and that geranium, I think it would translate as a bit more purposeful. Well, I've got to say, this day is off to a great start. First of all, Nick delivered me this awesome Redbud, and I don't remember the cultivar, but I'm going to look it up. This is from Dr. Denny Warner from NC State. This is like the weeping version of flamethrower, I think. Really, I'm so excited. I have lost most of my native redbuds to ambrosia beetles, but hopefully that won't happen with this. This is going to get planted in the native shrub borders out there. We'll probably get it planted this afternoon. Additionally, I just had my very first delivery of wine and beer from Total Wine. I had no idea that was even a service that was provided. And I'm so excited because I can't find Hugarten which is basically the only beer that I can drink without getting like a terrible upset stomach. And they have it and they deliver it, which is insane. And of course I ordered a bunch of champagne in preparation of all of the garden tours that are coming. We like to serve mimosas in the morning, and for evening tours we like to have, you know, other cocktails available. So I'm really excited that we are at May 1st, that garden tour season is upon us, and that the cottage gardens are just looking abundant and colorful and beautiful, and hopefully everybody who visits will be inspired. And for those of you who live too far away, I hope these garden tours will serve as inspiration and motivation, so that next season you'll follow along with the seed sowing. Because remember, all of this magic starts in the late fall, early winter by direct seeding. There's no way to achieve this kind of look by starting the plants out in pots and transplanting. And to be perfectly frank, most of these plants don't want to be transplanted. They don't want root disturbance, which is why I'm constantly reiterating, don't start these in trays. Direct seed where you want them to grow. First of all, it's a whole lot less work. You'll have a much more successful experience. Well, as always, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm looking forward to sharing more updates with all of you as we kick off the month of May. Thanks for watching, everybody.